All right, so we are on to the very bottom of page 48. I'm getting a new bit ready for us in case there are some important things to jot down here. Polycaste, a fair girl, Nestor's youngest, had meanwhile given up bath to Telemachus, bathing him first, then rubbing him with oil. She held fine clothes and a cloak to put around him when he came godlike from the bathing place. Then out he went to take his place with Nestor. When the best cuts were broiled and off the spits, they all sat down to banquet. Gentle squires kept every golden wine cup brimming full, and so they feasted to their heart's content until the prince of charioteers commanded, "Sons, harness the blood mares for Telemachus, hitch up the car, and let him take the road." They swung out smartly to do the work and hooked the handsome horses to a chariot shaft. The mistress of the stores brought up the provisions of bread and wine with victuals fit for kings, and Telemachus stepped up on the painted car. Just at his elbow stood Pisistratus, captain of spearmen, reins in hand. He gave a flick to the horses, and with streaming manes they ran for the open country. The tall town of Pylos sank behind them in the distance, as all day long they kept the harness shaking. So Nestor's son hitch up the horses. Pisistratus goes with Telemachus by chariot to visit Menelaus. The sun was low, and shadows crossed the lanes when they arrived at Pherae. There Diocles, son of Ortilocles, whom Alphaeus fathered, welcomed the young man, and they slept the night. But up when the young dawn's fingertips of rose opened in the east, they hitched the team once more to the painted car and steered out eastward through the echoing gate, whipping their fresh horses into a run. That day they made the grainlands of Lacedaemon, where, as the horses held to a fast clip, they kept on to their journey's end. Behind them, the sun went down and all the roads grew dark. So 2 days already they've traveled. And now book 4 is where we get to the red-haired king and his lady. So the red-haired king is the name for Menelaus. And as we open upon this book, Menelaus is celebrating marriages. His son, Megapenthes, to Alector's daughter from Sparta, and then his daughter Hermione to Neoptolemus, son of Achilles. So a lot going on. So I'm going to actually change this to book 4 notes. Menelaus is celebrating marriages of 2 daughters. Okay. By vales and sharp ravines in Lacedaemon, the travelers drove to Menelaus's mansion. They found him at a double wedding feast for son and daughter. Oops. I goofed up on this. A son and a daughter. There, that's better. Long ago at Troy, he pledged her to the heir of great Achilles, breaker of men, a match the gods had ripened. So he must send her with a chariot train to the town and glory of the Myrmidons. And that day, too, he brought Alector's daughter to marry his tall son Megapenthes, born of a slave girl during the long war, for the gods had never after granted Helen a child to bring into the sunlit world after the first rose-lipped Hermione, a girl like the pale gold goddess Aphrodite. Okay, so remember, this whole Trojan War had been fought because of Helen, and as a sort of punishment, she doesn't get to have any more children, just Hermione. Down the great hall in happiness they feasted, neighbors of Menelaus and his king, for whom a holy minstrel harped and sang, and 2 lithe tumblers moved out on the song, with spins and handsprings through the company. So they're having a big party, they've got acrobats and everything. Now when Telemachus and Nestor's son pulled up their horses at the main gate, one of the king's companions in arms, Atanias, going outside, caught sight of them. He turned and passed through court and hall to tell the master, stepping up close to get his ear. Said he, 2 men are here, 2 strangers, Menelaus, but nobly born Achaeans they appear. What do you say? Shall we unhitch their team, or send them on to someone free to receive them. The red-haired captain answered him in anger. You were no idiot before, Eteonius, but here you are talking like a child of 10. Could we have made it home again and Zeus give us no more hard roving if other men had never fed us, given us lodging? Bring these men to be our guests, unhitch their team. So even though he's got a wedding going on, he is saying they have to honor these rules of hospitality. Eat first, then tell about yourselves and wherever you're from, but always give hospitality to guests. Antinous left the long room like an arrow, calling equerries after him on the run. Those are stable hands. Outside, they freed the sweating team from harness, stabled the horses, tied them up, and showered bushels of wheat and barley in the feed box, then leaned the chariot pole against the gleaming entry wall of stone and took the guests in. What a brilliant place that mansion of the great prince seemed to them, a glitter everywhere, as though with fiery points of sunlight, lusters of the moon. Okay, Telemachus is the son of Odysseus, who's king of Ithaca, and he's riding with a prince's son as well. Nestor is the king of Pylos, but they're both taking in this home of Menelaus and saying, whoa, this is amazing. So even though they're kings in this area, they're not all equal. The young men gazed in joy before they entered into a room of polished tubs to bathe. Maid servants gave them baths, anointed them, held out fresh tunics, cloaked them warm, and soon they took tall thrones beside the son of Atreus. Here a maid tipped out water for their hands from a golden pitcher into a silver bowl, and set a polished table near at hand. The larder mistress, with her tray of loaves and savories, came, dispensing all her best. And then a carver heaped their plates high with various meats and put down cups of gold. Now, said the red-haired Captain Menelaus, gesturing, welcome, and fall to. In time, when you have supped, we hope to hear your names, forebears, and families. In your case, it seems, no anonymities, but lordly men. Lads like yourselves are not base-born. So in other words, he's saying, eat and then tell me about yourselves, but I'm guessing you are pretty important people. At this, he lifted in his own hands the king's portion, a chine of beef, and set it down before them. The king would get the best meat, of course, and so he's showing his hospitality by now giving that best piece to them. Seeing all ready, then, they took their dinner, but when they had feasted well, Telemachus could not keep still, but whispered, his head bent close, so the others might not hear. My dear friend, can you believe your eyes? The murmuring hall, how luminous it is with bronze, gold, amber, silver, and ivory. This is the way the court of Zeus must be, inside upon Olympus. What a wonder! But splendid Menelaus had overheard him and spoke out on the instant to them both. Young friends, no mortal man can vie with Zeus. His home and all his treasures are forever. But as for men, it may well be that few have more than I. How painfully I wandered before I brought it home. 7 years at sea. Cyprus, Phoenicia, Egypt, and still farther among the sun-burnt races. I saw the men of Sidon and Arabia and Libya too, where lambs are horned at birth. In every year they have 3 lambing seasons, and no man, chief or shepherd, ever goes hungry for want of mutton, cheese, or milk. All year at milking time there are fresh ewes. But while I made my fortune on those travels, a stranger killed my brother in cold blood, tricked blind, caught in the web of his deadly queen. What pleasure can I take then, being lord over all these costly things? So he's saying right there, which has more value, to be rich or to have your friends, your brothers, your loved ones alive? And so while he's rich, he feels like it really came with a price.